Lost.
My name is John Cato. I am one of the Lost Clubs.
I told you not to take them all at once. Did you listen? No.
I'm Dan Carlson, one quarter of the Lost Blokes. I am sitting here with Lining Kugel Summer Shandy, and I'm joined by my three compatriots.
I'm Dave Nesbitt, another quarter of the Lost Blokes. And
Who are we again?
Today's cocktail is a lemon lime G&T. You fill up a really big glass full of ice, throw in some tonic water, add some lemon and lime juice, add some gin, and then fill the rest up with tonic.
There you go.
That's why I said, okay.
It's me, the Meth That Cat, 25% of the Lost Blokes. And I've got a whole bunch of shit here today. At first, I was like, okay, yes, cheap scotch, got it, because that's what our boys have.
I almost got J&B today because of that, but I couldn't.
Also got a lager from Cosmic Eye Brewing, Dead Man's Run.
Oh, nice.
I figured appropriate name.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then not intentional, but I've got to stay sharp so I don't fall asleep, so the thing doesn't get me. So Moof picked me up some coffee and also a croissant, which when I was looking at it, I'm like, oh God, it's come back. It's covered in snow and it's frozen and it's just lying in wait. So wait, I have a thing now.
No.
Ah, yes.
It's the thing. I'm so sorry.
And
I'm John Cato. I am one of the Lost Clubs.
Yeah.
Did the board fall over, John?
Actually, I noticed that it said that after Nick visited, so he messed with it and changed it around.
That sneaky son of a gun.
Bastards.
Wait, if he's the son of a gun and you're his father, then that makes you a gun.
All right.
You should be banned.
And good.
I'm an assault weapon.
2-minute plot breakdown. Starting now.
John Carpenter's The Thing is a 1982 movie about an alien that crash lands on Earth and wants to go home. He can't find a little boy to help him get home. So he has to adapt and basically imitate every person around him because, hey, he doesn't know how to talk and tell him what's up. So so this creature basically, if it touches anything, first he knows that if he shows up in their camp, he's going to scare him away. So he comes to them in the form of a friendly little dog. The people from the Swedish camp nearby know that this dog is not human.
Norwegian. They're
Norwegian. But they're mistaken for Swedish several times.
Just like who was it that went with McCready along the dock?
Yeah.
He's like, they're Norwegian, not Swedes.
Right. Yes.
A minute 5.
Okay. So they shoot the dog. They shoot the guys who were coming after the dog, and then the dog gets loose and starts spreading this infection all over the place, and nobody knows who's human and who's alien, and there's lots of paranoia. There's a lot of gore, and
some fabulous creature work.
Oh yeah.
Yes, Kurt Russell runs around with the ridiculous hat, and it gets really cold, and everybody's not in a good mood, and they start getting pissed at each other, and things from there just kind of go south. By the end,
well, of course, they can't go any further south. They're in Antarctica.
Right. And by the end, everybody dies.
Yep.
Maybe.
Everybody,
Probably.
but two people.
We assume.
2 people may die at the end. Everyone else is already dead.
We are
We'll get to the fan
unknowing
theory about that. because
Yeah.
even John Carpenter has said he doesn't know.
Right. So yeah, great remake of The Thing.
That's it. That's it.
On
You're
the
out of
nose.
time.
Dan failed.
Cheating bitch.
So
So real quick, you said that at the beginning that the alien crash lands, the thing crash lands on Earth. I think that I have a different theory on this.
I don't think that
Um,
it's up for debate. It's physically shown in the movie.
Whatever John
Well,
Carpenter says.
But
That's not what, no one says anything about it. It just shows a ship. Now, if you notice that the ship is doing the thing, right?
Mhm.
I don't
wobbly-
think that the alien, I don't think the thing
Was the
is
thing driving the
is
ship?
commander of that ship. I think that the thing
They
somehow
were just trying to
got
get it
on
off
that
their
ship.
planet.
I think that it got on that ship and assimilated the aliens that were on that ship, and that's the reason the ship is crash landing, is because it's all in disarray. They're all freaking out, and I think
Or-
that they ended up in the ice on Earth because the ship was out of control because the thing took over the crew of the ship.
I think
I think it was a suicide mission from another planet. They're like, we've got to get this thing off the planet, otherwise it will destroy us all.
There's no
So
life
it was
on this Earth
they
planet.
picked somebody at random. They said, you're going to fly the ship to the nearest iciest place because it hates cold, and you're going to crash it there, and you're not coming back.
I figured it could fly because it tries to build a ship later. But,
Yeah,
Um,
I
so-
almost didn't catch that. Like the part where they said, well, like it was building a ship piece by piece.
Mhm.
Because to be honest, I had kind of like mildly checked out at that point.
The thing? The thing? The thing!
So the thing
Yep.
basically, to get a little more into it, is about a creature that imitates human life and invades this
Or any life, really.
any life.
Husky wolf life.
Yes, imitates it perfectly, and it lives. I mean, basically, its main source of survival is adaptation. It can adapt to almost anything.
Yeah.
And there's hints that it's been around for thousands of years. And
I think they said that the ice that the ship was kind of dug out of by the Norwegians was like 100,000 years old.
yeah,
I don't know. Well, and I want to know, what kind of scientists are these guys? Because most of the time I just see them fucking about in the rec room, playing cards, playing pool, pouring drinks on very expensive chess computers.
Yes.
Like, come on, dude. I know it's a unitasker, but those things are expensive. It's 1982.
That PC was a cheating bitch, though. That's a quote.
True,
him
she was a
directly.
cheating bitch.
Yeah.
Plus, he apparently he was so mad he wasted his scotch on it. Like
Yeah.
he could have drank that
know.
scotch to like numb the pain of his
Well-
humiliating loss to the
Well,
computer.
I love that opening scene with him shows that he basically is willing to burn the chessboard rather than concede a loss, and that's kind of what
Yeah.
he does in the movie. at the end.
Foreshadowing.
Yes.
Kobayashi
It definitely
Maru.
gives you
Huh?
it
Sorry,
gives
Dave?
you a great mindset. It gives you a great kind of peek into his mindset. And also, let's face it, that entire crew is made up of a group of people that really wouldn't survive a whole lot, else. It's kind of like the crew in Aliens. It's a bunch of people doing scientific stuff and this and that. but
Supposedly.
they're all like working class, very realistic in terms of a group of people who have been living together in this isolated space long enough to discover all the traits that get on everybody else's nerves.
Mhm.
And you can feel the friction in the crew, at the beginning. And then this just with the combination of wondering who's a human and who's an alien, mixed with everybody's personality traits kind of grating on each other.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does an incredibly good job of setting up tension, but also making that tension somewhat more personally realistic. Like
Yeah.
Childs and McCready, neither one of them trusts the other one.
Right. You get the sense though that Childs doesn't really have a problem with McCready until this blows up.
Yeah.
probably defers to McCready whenever possible.
Confidence.
Yeah.
McCready is too confident. Can't trust that.
He is a little confident, but he is even tempered. He's not the first person to. He's not the first person to say pull a gun on this guy and shoot him. Like a lot of them were ready to just blow people away at the drop of a hat. And he's like, yeah, wait a minute now, take a second. There's the moment where what the thing is trying to do becomes apparent to the doctor. But and everybody else kind of has a hint of it, but he has the real scope of what's about to happen, and he, from our perspective, goes nuts. But he actually is probably doing the wisest thing you could do in that situation, which is to start destroying shit, because he knows that creature cannot be allowed to get off that place. If it does, it's the end of life on Earth.
The captions that pop up on the computer while he's like, calculating spread rate are both like kind of cool and kind of cheesy. I just enjoyed that little bit as he's like trying to work it out.
Well, back then, most of us didn't have computers at home, so we didn't really know what computers could do.
Yeah,
what they couldn't.
No, and so, even today they do that all the time. When they show anybody like doing a hack, it looks nothing like it would in real life.
Right.
But the mainstream doesn't know, so it doesn't matter. It gets the point across.
Right. Well, that's like
if it reads, it reads.
Yeah, and so in 27,000 hours, if this creature gets off into a populated area, the entire population of the Earth will be the thing. Which makes me wonder if it had been able to do that previously. So why is it so important to this creature to do that if maybe it has already done it before? Why doesn't it just stay where it created a thing planet instead of wanting to move on to maybe it's like us where we can't sit still.
Either that, or I was going to say it might be, it seems like fairly instinctual, like not.
There's probably not a lot of
like I don't think it does a whole lot of strategy. Like it has killer instincts, kind of in the same way that any like apex predator on Earth does, I think.
Right.
But maybe it's like to avoid the thing incest. Like eventually you've assimilated all of the creatures on a planet, and you can't continue to assimilate them. Otherwise, it's just gonna make you even grosser.
That would be an interesting sequel.
I have to push back on that. I think he's very strategic. He goes and destroys the blood because he knows that, or it knows that that they'll be able to test for who is the thing when they're able to test the blood. So I think he is very strategic. He plans this all out, like who he's taking over and what he's doing. It's only when he's caught in the act of changing that it's a problem.
If you've seen it more than once, you probably kind of have a clue of who's the thing and when. And I noticed that now that I know who the thing is at certain points in the story, I can see that person laying low a lot. He's not offering solutions. He's also not sticking his neck out. Like there's the scene where they ask that guy if he wants to be the leader. He goes, "I'm not up for it, guys." He's the thing right there.
Yeah.
He's not up for it because that would require him to take center stage and draw attention to himself. So he's just like,
it's like the opposite of methinks thou doth protest too much.
And I think part of it is just, it doesn't want to draw attention to itself. It wants to appear helpful without actually being helpful. It has enough information to understand what somebody's memories are without understanding what actually constitutes the personality.
Like, yes, it can maybe like speak and it'll sound like that person because, it's still talking through the person's vocal cords, larynx, whatever, chest size, what all of the factors that affect what your voice sounds like. But like everybody has their own little intonations of things. So like, is it able to scan through memories and like basically pluck out words like an AI say, well, this word would be said with like this type of inflection, because nobody there has a real strong accent one way or another.
Mhm.
but everybody still does have you know, a way of speaking that's
voice.
somewhat distinct, except for a few guys. There are so many people in this goddamn crew. I kind of can't keep track of them. As soon as there was only like 5 left, I'm like, oh, well, thank fuck, because now I can remember you all.
Yeah.
That was the big complaint from reviewers at the time of it was released, that everybody kind of blended together for them.
Yeah.
But I think there's so much going for you to kind of keep track of that first time that
Yeah.
that's why it's a little overwhelming. After you've seen it a few times, it's like very,
Yeah.
it's actually
Well-
much more streamlined than I
But I
realized.
think I also think you need some red shirts at the beginning.
Yeah. And maybe that's what it was. They didn't, the people who basically served the function of being red shirts. Oh God, I just realized. The people who served as red shirts, it almost seemed like I was supposed to pay attention to them and like get to know them a little bit, but then they were gone before I knew what to do. And I was like, oh shit, well, okay, well, all right, who's left? Let me try to remember all your names.
Well, Carpenter's really good at misdirection in this movie. There's that scene during
That sneaky bastard.
the blood test.
Yeah, God.
Right before the blood test, where they're going to actually kill McCready. They got flamethrowers team, pointed at him and everything. And you see like a shot. There's a guy with his knife drawn already in the back. It's barely noticeable off to the side of the frame. It's like everybody is just ready to slit each other's throat at that moment.
But yeah, then in the
but I think-
kennel, like just you see that dog just like slowly lay down. I'm like, oh my God, this dog has seen some shit. He just looks
The
like
reason that they were
I can
trying to
die
kill
now.
this-
Please let me die now.
John, what was that?
The dogs are all, and the other dogs are actually all looking at him and reacting as
They're like,
nope,
"The
this ain't
fuck?"
right. We ain't doing this.
The dog ate all the peanut butter.
Okay.
I don't know
so
what that
I
means.
don't know what it means either.
I don't want to know.
Do I want to know? I don't know.
You probably
So-
don't want to know.
Yeah. This is based on a story called Who Goes There by John W. Campbell Jr.
Yeah, I was
Um,
going to ask if this was based on a book.
Yeah, and it was actually filmed previously in 1951 as The Thing from Another World, which is drastically different from this movie.
Campbell book was inspired by H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness. So that's the order of events was At the Mountains of Madness, Frozen Hell, Who Goes There,
and
and John
The
Campbell
Thing.
wrote both
And
Frozen Hell and Who Goes There.
and then the Thing movie, and then Invasion, and then Jack Finney publishes The Body Snatchers, which has a remarkably similar plot, except
But it takes place in an urban setting rather than
a small town in the first,
suburban
and
setting.
then in the remake, which is far superior, is a big city. But
Yeah, and then moves on from there.
so what do you think Body Snatchers feels like? Feels
No, it's
Lovecraft?
it's Lovecraftian. And it is mythos approved absolutely for sure.
Mhm.
Because you have aliens, they're trying to take over the human race through subterfuge.
There's a mystery involved. There's people,
There's a mystery
ordinary
involved.
people figuring it out.
Yep, and a really dark fate befalls the planet. So yeah, that certainly is mythos approved and very Lovecraftian as well. So much has been taken from his stuff, and that's good. Actually, Lovecraft said, this is a world that I've created for you, and he encouraged other authors to expand on that to increase the mystery. At the Mountains of Madness is a about an Antarctic expedition involving a couple of boats worth of people, and they plan on being there basically one season. And they get there. The story is very tedious to read, but it's worth it. But they get there. And
Wait, another great pull quote from John. Very tedious to read.
It is, because like Lovecraft goes literally into he literally goes into the travel manifest of everything they took with them. Like it's like this huge list, like a couple chapters long of what they took along with them at the
So are you saying like this is the missing passages or the missing chapter even from The Princess Bride, the missing chapter, where just goes on and on about the trees of the country, which I forget the name.
Yeah,
is it Florin?
That's what it is.
The trees of Florin, just for like 20 fucking pages.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
William Gold's like, no, we're skipping that.
Anyway,
it kind of feels like a chapter that kind of was put in for contractual obligation for a number of pages.
So they get there, they go up in the plains, and they see these really odd mountains that no one's ever discovered before, and they put Everest to shame. But as they keep going, they keep finding more and more strange creatures frozen in the ice that shouldn't be there. Oh yeah, well yeah. I mean, it's got it hits on everything. It's got normal everyday people experiencing a potentially cataclysmic event and having to employ skills that are very quickly learned to subvert that threat. Mm-hmm. There are creatures with tentacles that are otherworldly. There is a sense of doom there. I mean, the whole thing, it all screams mythos, absolutely.
We need a giant stamp animation for this. Mythos approved.
Is this the quintessential Mythos movie?
That isn't directly Lovecraftian.
That isn't based directly on Lovecraft.
I mean, it's everything short of, it's a Lovecraft adaptation, pretty much, with the exception of not saying, adapted from H.P. Lovecraft.
Right.
I mean, all of the elements are there. It feels like In the Mountains of Madness in a lot of ways. To me, I mean, it also speaks to that cosmic horror element of the universe doesn't particularly care about us.
It doesn't revolve around us, and it doesn't care about us. Yeah,
it does not.
We're meaningless. Meaningless creatures in the cosmos, and
Cthulhu will awaken someday, and he will consume us all, and it is for the greater glory.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
You reminded me of something, or a couple of things actually, when you mentioned it's got tentacles, so Mythos approved. In the scene where the dog is exploding into the thing, and we get our first look at that, and all the tentacles are like flailing around out of its back. The noise that happens, that's kind of like cicada-like. I like threw down my hands and screamed, "Oh fuck! It's Pumpkinhead!" Because it sounds exactly the same as the noise that precedes Pumpkinhead entering a scene in that movie. Like but I don't remember hearing it again for the rest of the movie, just in that scene.
Yeah, there's a sense that it at any moment it's recalling life forms past that it's absorbed. So that's why it can grow eyeballs out of stalks in its head. And
like, what is it going to grow next? Is it going to grow arms so that it can lift itself into the ceiling? Is it going to grow some eye stalks so it can peer around? And then the head melting off. I can't remember who it was on the autopsy table, that the mouth like opened up on his stomach and clamped around the doc's arms. Oh my God. What a fantastic take. Like the
Apparently
creature work.
I just love that moment when the guy turns around, sees the head with the spider legs and all of that, and just goes, "You've got to be fucking kidding."
Serious?
And it's that moment where I think it kind of dawns on everybody just how completely epically fucked they are. Because this thing keeps coming up with new and exciting ways, and you're kind of stuck in the form that you've got, so you got to deal with it. I think the element there is that when I'm sitting around and I'm thinking about this, there's some prime paranoia going all the way through it, and it has that kind of combination of Who's the Werewolf and also a witch hunt vibe, in which everybody is like, one of us has to be the creature.
At least one. Like it could be one people, could be multiple people. We don't know.
That's why I don't want to. Well, I guess I will jump to the ending. That's why with the ending, I think they're both human, because if one of them was the thing, he would attack the other one.
Mhm.
I think they're both human, but it doesn't matter at that point because they're
Unless
both.
the thing has developed a sadistic streak,
Well, and Childs,
toying with the remaining human.
yeah, Childs has the flamethrower. So if he was not human, he would have definitely burned up McCready. And
Would he know?
McCready still
Because
had a gun.
could he have absorbed McCready's burnt flesh?
He doesn't need to absorb.
No, he just has to make it back.
He just has to survive. He
Yeah.
absorbs
And I
as
think-
And he doesn't care because all he has to do is just get back down into the ice if he can't survive this.
I'll wait
all he
another
has to do is get
100,000
found
years.
in the ice.
And
Yeah.
I think that's
That won't
I mean,
work because climate change, and
Yeah.
he's gonna wake up in the middle of the ocean.
he's going to wake up 50 years from now.
Like, oh shit!
I think that
Well,
that's
there's nothing left to absorb.
Another theory I have about the thing
Yes.
is that each cell, well, and they talk about it in the movie, each cell is concerned about survival. So we have a creature that assimilates a human, right? Or whatever. But let's say, it assimilates a person.
Carbon-based life form.
The reason that it can so perfectly do human is that it becomes every cell of that human's body, and therefore it is a copy of it. It's a group consciousness in the thing. So in other words,
It's
each individual cell is a thing, but the whole of what it assimilates is a
Like a
collective
Borg. It's the Borg.
consciousness.
I was gonna
Huh?
say
Well, no,
it's a
because
hive
the
mind.
Borg- I think it's like the Borg. The Borg are each, okay, because if you chop off a Borg's toe,
Arm. Okay, toe.
does he not bleed? I mean, if you chop off a Borg's toe, the toe doesn't remain in survival mode.
Maybe it does.
So that
I don't know that we've ever seen a Borg toe cut
So-
off
so
in
if a
all
thing,
of Star Trek.
if
But
a
I'm only
thing-
on Enterprise, so
if a thing clone cuts its fingernails, does the fingernail try to run off and become a
Yes.
it's everybody will talk about it, so it's not entirely a spoiler, but that blood test scene, the first time that I saw it,
Oh my God.
I fucking launched out of my chair.
Yeah.
yeah, no,
That
I
was-
did a jump.
That's
I did a jump.
That was one of the most unexpected effects I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Well, and I was already on edge because like as that copper wire is scraping the petri dishes, the noise.
Yeah.
So I was already like, ugh. I don't know if it's the same for you guys. My ears are really, really sensitive and that shit. I thought I was gonna die. I'm like, can you just dip it in the blood? Like tip it to one side and just get it in the puddle. Also, why does everybody always cut the fingers and the hands?
I wanted to point out that they used
goddamn top of the arm. Okay, there's so many nerve
I
endings
want to
here.
point out that they use the same blade to cut every finger, so that kind of ruins the whole
Right?
non-contamination thing.
Oh God, yeah.
They put it in the fire.
Oh,
They,
yes.
they
Oh, yeah.
heat the
Oh, that's
blade.
right. You're right.
They burn the blade.
You think that they'd have more than one
One of
blade to
them
use, though.
didn't. The first one who did the cutting, I can't remember. He just wiped it off and then cut his own finger.
Well, it's the first movie that really showed these kind of effects in broad lit scenes where it's not like hidden and cheated with shadow and everything like that. I mean,
Mhm.
I love that when Wilford Brimley is doing the autopsy, he's going, yuck.
Yeah,
the whole
he's
time.
like,
I know,
like,
but I love how he like has the scalpel in his hand. Is like, I don't even know where to start cutting, man.
Yeah.
Like
This is
over
the guy
here,
who's-
over here.
And then, of course, and then after that, he's telling them about this is the creature that imitates other life forms. He's got a pencil in his hand that he's just used to point to or touch the creature, and now he's got it toward his mouth. So you're like, that's not smart. When do you guys think he became the thing? Because he's certainly human when he's going at the machines with an axe. He's still human when he gets put out in the shed. There must have been a moment where somebody who was the thing got to him in the shed.
I think that it shows that there's a tunnel that was made going into the shed, as I recall.
But he didn't make it, did he? Or did he?
I missed that.
I think the creature in and of itself was doing that, and saw an opportunity. I mean,
Oh, yeah. I think they remarkably handle it, when they realize that this is a suicide mission. They handle it pretty well.
Yeah.
When they're told we're not getting out of here, so we're just gonna make sure
Yeah.
this thing doesn't either. You don't see them breaking
There's-
down and crying or anything. They
Yeah,
just,
no,
like,
I
okay.
figured that Windows or Nulls, the two of them seem to be the youngest ones there. I figured one of them would, like back away slowly, start to cry and be like, no, man, I want to live, and start running out, and then someone's shooting them because they don't know.
Right.
I think, but then there's also, I mean, after you've seen some of the stuff that this creature can do in relation to everybody else, that dawning realization that you are actually kind of the last and only line of defense against this. I mean, some people would totally freak out being in that circumstance and try to run, but I think everybody
They
else
don't want
is
to be
like,
the leader.
yeah. I think everybody else is like, if we don't do this, the entire world is epically fucked, even more so than us. The idea that you've got some very prime paranoia with a group of people who have been living on top of each other way too much, mixed with the idea of fighting a creature that you really can't beat, but you can basically delay. I mean, it is a really great example of when you get cosmic horror done right. It's something that I think that John Carpenter in, multiple films has done remarkably well. And I think that part of the reason that the film did not do as well as it did was, again, there's the thing with E.T., but E.T. was so uplifting, and the thing is remarkably bleak.
Oh yeah, no, it's people dealing with a situation of hopelessness, but to be fair, pretty admirably. Like under the circumstances, they kept it together pretty well. And I know I say that even among the swinging around fire axes and
that thing wanted to
everything on fire.
Yep.
They kept it together pretty darn well under the circumstances.
Probably better than I would, I'll be perfectly honest. I mean,
when I was just reading like the general when I was reading just the general wiki about the movie, one of the tabs is legacy, and I can't remember who said it. We can throw the quote up on the screen if you want, Dan. It basically said like this is a landmark moment for horror and B movies in general. Like it was dark and expertly done. So maybe that was just a minority view, but they happened to be right.
If it was a contemporary, if it was a review that came out in the 80s, it would have been a minority view. Siskel and Ebert called this the most disgusting thing they'd seen come out of a major studio. I'm a huge fan of Siskel and Ebert, but they always get horror
wasn't
movies.
it?
It was Universal, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of both of them, but they always got it wrong when horror movies were concerned.
Yeah.
And they got this one really wrong. And plus the whole culture was primed for, they just seen E.T. They were primed for this very sunny, they didn't want to go into a summer movie where Blade Runner suffered the same kind of thing too, where it was too bleak and too depressing for audiences. So they kind of checked out.
It was about 30 to 40 years too early.
Yeah.
We love that shit now.
Yeah, that's Carpenter in a nutshell. Always 40 years too early.
Oh,
I think he's kind of the spearhead of a lot of different elements of horror. I mean, cosmic horror was not particularly, I mean, the only other thing I can think of in the recent memory of that era that had that cosmic horror element to it was the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Which is amazing.
Had an incredible piece of work.
Yeah.
And I think that it was a shock to the system, and it took a while for the culture to catch up to it, because the reviews at the time kept so many people away, myself included, that when I actually sat down and watched the film a year later, on VHS, my reaction was, is this the same film that everybody was shit hammering? Because this was amazing. And
a few people.
I think that if you stepped away from the zeitgeist at that moment, you could have recognized it for what it was, which is a great achievement in filmmaking. But it was also really the first of its kind to go all in on the cosmic horror element, the bleakness of it, and most especially those creature effects, which are absolutely staggering.
And
Yeah.
Rob Bottin didn't just do the creature effects. He actually came to John Carpenter, who, what I think the original intention, I'd have to double check, but I think the original intention was to film it the same way that Alien was, where it's kind of in the dark and stuff. He's like, no, man, let's do it all in bright light. And this thing has been to so many different planets. We can have it turn into whatever it feels like
Whatever
turning
we
into.
want.
You know, so it's as much
Wiggly
Rob Bottin's
spaghetti
ship.
Tentacles.
Yes. Yeah,
Like,
it's like
well, and God, at the very end, with Childs and McCready, they're both so tired.
yeah.
And
That's why I think they're both human.
yeah,
I think that,
because the thing may be capable of mimicry, but I don't know that it's that good an actor.
Dave, what's your opinion of J&B Scotch?
It's drinkable.
Okay.
Scotch,
You know, I'm not
probably about as good as Grant's.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you're like, okay, you're serving this to me? Well, I'm in your home. I'm not going to bitch about it.
Is the doctor and Wilford Brimley, are they both doctors? Is one, because one's doing the autopsy, the other one seems to handle things when there's like a heart attack or whatever.
One is a general practitioner, and the other one is an internal doctor.
Okay. Because, man, did he get grossed out?
Yeah.
And he's not wearing very long gloves. I mean, if I was going to reach into
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
wearing gloves
They've
up to
just
my-
got these short, like going up. I'm like, these are not
I love
autopsy
how-
gloves. Don't you guys
No.
have some like elbow length gloves that you
Right.
use to clean out the latrines?
Yeah.
That's what you should be using.
I love how Wilford Brimley is in this movie too. When he's going through the autopsy results, he's like, "Well,
What we have here is
you have a regular kind of human. You have a heart, you have a liver, and you have intestines." Speaking of liver,
He's very Joseph.
he hates this movie, or he felt this movie went too far with the gore, by the way.
Oh.
Wilford Brimley was not a fan of the movie when it came out.
Oh,
yeah, so that was probably his real reaction, having to dig into that thing.
you're like, oh, this is not what I signed on for, man. Oh, yes, it is.
He's probably
Yes,
like,
it is, sir.
he's
You
probably
didn't read the fine print in your contract. You're gonna have to stick your hands in
You're
gross
going to be
things.
swimming in it.
I'll bet he was
In-
wanting revenge on Rob.
Oh, viscera.
Well, I'm just going to say press play. I can't think of a way you would make this movie more perfectly. It's John Carpenter's, I don't know if it's his masterpiece. It's close. I don't know if Halloween is his masterpiece, but
It's a film that definitely doesn't have any pacing issues.
No.
It works. There's never a moment there where I don't feel the tension.
it seemed slow to me the first time I watched it when I was like 14, but now when I watched it yesterday, I was like, man, this thing moves at a clip. Because there's
Was it any
Yep.
shorter in the theatrical release? What I watched was, I think, 109 minutes.
that sounds about right.
Yeah, sounds
Okay.
about right.
It could have been. It could have easily been like a 2.5-hour movie.
Yeah.
There was a TV cut that was really bad where
Oh.
the network didn't believe in the audience's ability to keep the characters straight, so they put like a voiceover telling you who everyone
geez.
was. It's really horrible.
That sounds not
Wow.
good.
It wasn't.
I'll be back in just a second.
Oh, okay. So
In the meantime,
in the meantime, I say press play. If you haven't seen it already 1,000 times, you're just going into it the first time, it's going to
Still
be
press play.
press play, press play, press play. Whether you're real, whether you're an imitation, you're going to enjoy it. Make it a double feature with ET so that you can get my references from earlier. And yeah,
I would say press play. Enjoyed watching it for my first time. Like I said before, there is like a 5 to 10 minute period where I wasn't paying quite as much attention. I was writing some notes down. But other than that, yeah, I think like it moves along. It might feel slow to some people, and maybe repetitive, but that's going to be a personal thing. I would say definitely watch it. If you're like not into gross things and it really oogs you out, this may be one to steer clear from, or at least like have someone who knows the timestamps when the really gross stuff happens, and then you can just shut your eyes and listen. I don't know. But if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of like I would say like looking at movies that look at the darker sides of
But you're
human
gonna say, if you
nature.
like to look at car accidents, you'll like this movie.
Not quite. I wouldn't call it a car accident. Maybe a tractor accident or a chopper accident.
Yeah.
Chopper and grenade accident, whatever.
Oh God, yes, it is not a grenade accident. Like I know that was supposed to be like maybe a scary moment, but I laughed. I laughed at the grenade accident.
And for me to round it out, I'm definitely going press play early and often. If you have not seen this film and you're like, well, it's an 80s film, it's probably going to be dated. To a degree, but you know what? The effects are amazing. The writing is absolutely on point, and the way that it's shot totally works.
I would say you have to press play. You have to. Even if you've seen it a million times, go watch it again. It's a fun watch. Lots of gore.
And then next week is Buckaroo Banzai.
So is the way that you say bonsai, is that just a northern Wisconsin thing that you
well, it's
say
not Banzai.
It's
It's not-
bonsai.
It's Bonsai.
That's what he's been saying.
That's what
No,
I've
he's
been
been saying banzai.
And then next week is Buckaroo Banzai. I don't say Banzai.
I think you're full of shit.
And then next week is Buckaroo Banzai.
Dan failed.
Cheating bitch.
Banzai.